Nena is Policy Coordinator on Human Rights and Non-Discrimination with Age Platform Europe. So thanks so much for joining us this morning, Nena. And just maybe to talk about the Ageing and Public Policy Programme and how it's such an area of emerging importance and probably strategic significance. Now, if you'd like to add any or share your experience in that regard, that'd be great.
Sure, thanks. So yeah, I've been working for AGE, which is a civil society network that brings the voice of older people in all EU policy debates and advances their human rights for the past over 10 years now, but I've also worked as an independent consultant for the United Nations and the International Labour Organization. And from this capacity and from my personal experience, I can attest to the fact that there is this gap that both you and Kieran talked about in this area, in the sense that I personally came across at some point in my career, because when I entered this field, there was nobody else doing what I'm doing in terms of human rights and aging, no one with the legal expertise on this topic. And I had to learn by doing, which is exciting but frustrating at times. And the way that I address this knowledge gap, because the more advanced you become, the more expose yourself to new processes, and the more up to speed, and you need to be able to work in different ways, is by doing PhD. And I precisely chose to do the PhD I did at the NUI at the Center for Social Gerontology, because it is a policy-oriented institute, but in some ways I would have hoped to have access to a course like the one that is offered right now, because for two reasons, really. First, because it is really a kind of dynamic and up to speed. So it's not only research-based, not only academic. So it's really very much invested into what is happening now, the policy orientations that are happening on the ground, and bringing both the research and the more professional spheres together. And then the other thing is it has to do a lot with its multidisciplinarity, which I saw that this is something that plays out in the different programs explained today. But just for the latter point, I think I want to highlight it, because aging is traditionally seen from a public policy perspective as something that is really related to a very narrow sphere of areas, in particular, health, long-term care, and pensions that are not necessarily attractive to a wide range of people. But there's much more consciousness now that aging affects pretty much every aspect of society, and therefore every aspect of public policy areas. So we have now, policies on aging and transport, aging and housing, aging and climate, aging and an urban environment, aging and human rights and equality, and all these areas. So depending on where you come from, you can definitely find both interest, but also really contribute from the different perspectives and experience you might have, being as a student, but also as someone like me that is already invested in this area. Because one thing that I have come across is that, this experience that I had is not only for me, but other colleagues have experienced that as well, precisely because aging is becoming so transversal and so cross-cutting. There are not many people that are experts on aging and other areas. So this is something that, this is a multidisciplinary aspect of this program will definitely be able to deliver on. And just to add on that, I don't think it's coincidental that we now have, for the first time ever, a vice president of the European Commission that is focusing on democracy and demography. We have the member states of the EU that have talked about the need to mainstream aging in all EU policy areas. We will have in a couple of weeks the first ever UN global report on ageism. And we now have also a green paper on aging that sets the agenda for aging for the years to come. So this is not certainly something that is, happening now and will end in a few years. It's certainly high on the agenda. So if people are interested in public policy in general, I think this is a really good investment. And happy to answer any other questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Nena. And I think that's really telling, for the UN and for the EU to make moves like that just shows how they view aging as strategically important, so that's not inconsequential either. So really interesting. So if you're interested in this area, this is such a unique program, and it's research-led teaching. So fantastic opportunity to get involved in aging and public policy.